Movies you should watch. John Wick. What it is. They call him Baba Yaga, the boogeyman. But you see, he's not really the boogeyman. He's the man you send to kill the fucking boogeyman. That man is John Wick, and he used to be a hitman for the Russian mafia. But he left that life when he met the woman who would later become his wife. Then, after she passes away, he's pulled back into his old ways, after some punk kids steal his car and kill his dog. John then embarks on a quest for vengeance where he will not stop until he makes the people who wronged him pay for everything they have done. Why you should watch it. John Wick is a 2014 action film starring Keanu Reeves and directed by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch in their directorial debut. This is, in my opinion, one of the best action films of the decade. From the cinematography to the characters to, of course, the action, it's a ride all the way through. But let's start at the most important part, which is the titular character himself. I've never really been a fan of Keanu Reeves' movies. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like The Matrix that much, which is weird because the directors of this movie were previously stunt coordinators who worked on the Matrix trilogy. But John Wick completely turned that around. Also Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, but let's not get sidetracked here. Keanu as John is by far my favorite role of his. He's able to be this stoic badass while also being a relatable character. That's because this movie starts off with John as a grieving husband, just a man trying to deal with the passing of his wife. Eventually we understand more about him and just how terrifying he truly is. You know, I was really turned off from seeing this movie at first because I don't like movies about a lone badass. Usually they seem like these unkillable, unstoppable, boring killing machines. They're ex-CIA agents or Green Berets who learn to kill in socially acceptable ways. And they gotta kill the bad guy for some moral reason, like revenge for their family, someone killed their wife, kidnapped their daughter, who the fuck cares? John Wick strips that away. John isn't a good person. An excellent protagonist and a person to root for, yes, but in the end he was a former hitman and his reason for going on a killing spree isn't something grand and noble. They stole his car and killed his dog. Now, animal lovers, I hear you. Someone did that, you would want to John Wick them as well. But the loss of life because of this event is ludicrous and the film is aware of that. And this self-aware quality to it is what makes John Wick even better. To clarify, it isn't wink wink, self-aware, or fourth wall breaking. The movie just knows what it is. An action movie about a badass. It's amazing how this movie builds up John Wick. As I mentioned earlier, they start with him as a normal man. Then we see people talk about him, the respect and fear they have for him. How the mere mention of his name can change an entire conversation, which then turns to him going into action and showing us why they fear him. Our antagonist Vigo, played by Michael Nyqvist, I don't know if that's the right way to say that, the boss of the Russian mafia, is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie. Usually in these kind of action movies, the boss of the bad guys has no idea who he's dealing with and he completely underestimates them. This is not true here. Vigo knows John well, very well. He doesn't hold back from the beginning, which helps add to how impressive John is. Plus, he's a pretty fun, likable character, which is great. If there is one thing action movies need more of, it's fun, likable villains. The world this film takes place in is fascinating. Different expressions like what a dinner reservation means in their world, and special unwritten rules. And this just adds to the mystery of the world. If they gave long conversations or voiceover or had some fish out of water character to explain these things to, it wouldn't be nearly as cool. There are some things like a good joke or a magic trick that are best left unexplained. And that is what this world is to me. This film looks gorgeous. There are scenes that look like they're ripped right out of a graphic novel. I wish I could frame some of these scenes and put them on my wall. The colors are what really gets me, especially in one sequence that takes place in a club. I don't want to explain too much, but really it just looks mesmerizing. Also, some small thing that I noticed that I personally really like is the subtitles. They have words that are emphasized in a stylistic way, and I love this. This adds to that graphic novel feel I was mentioning earlier, but it also just gives the movie this feel of cool. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about the action, which uses a lot of gun fu techniques, which is a combination of kung fu styling with guns. The action in this movie is exhilarating. Most modern movies use quick cuts and shaky cam to hide action due to poor choreography, but John Wick uses a lot of long takes showing exactly what Keanu is doing, and showing his face so that you know he's the one doing it, not some stunt double that actually trained for this movie. This adds another level of connection to the character because you are actually watching him do these stunts. What it's similar to. I think that when people think of similar movies, their minds might go to stuff like Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher, or Liam Neeson in Taken, or really any Daniel Craig James Bond movie, because these movies have the lone badass type. But none of these really fit for me. The tone and action aren't really the same. A much more accurate and similar film would be the 2010 South Korean movie The Man from Nowhere, which is about a former Black Ops agent who goes on a murderous rampage to save a little girl from the mafia. I saw this movie on Netflix and it's fucking terrific. You could also compare the action to that of South Korean film Old Boy, Oldboy. A lot of South Korean films being mentioned today. They make good action movies, what can I say? Oldboy has a plot that is it's great, but I'm not getting into that right now. The action is where I want to compare them because they both use a lot of grappling, close quarters combat, with heroes that feel vulnerable. I mean, they're kicking ass, but you can see the wear and tear these fights have on them. Past injuries that slow them or affect them. This makes them feel human and relatable because there is a point you can no longer withhold your suspension of disbelief. A good example of that would be John McClane in later Die Hard movies, who feels more like a Terminator than a human. I would also put John Wick as far more of a Western movie protagonist. So if you want a mashup of Western style heroes like Clint Eastwood with neo-noir, gun-fu action movies, freaking John Wick. Watch it, love it, buy it on Blu-ray. John Wick is one of the best action movies of our generation. It's got a fascinating world full of mystery, characters that ooze personality, and a history that is never really explained, but never truly needed to be explained. And obviously some of the best fight scenes you'll ever see, certainly in a Hollywood movie. This is, without a goddamn doubt in my mind, a movie you should watch. Also, holy fuck, I can't wait for John Wick 2. I mean, I don't feel like a sequel was needed, but goddamn am I gonna see that.
We've been doing this for so long, and yet it's come to this. We feel you've been treating us wrong, yet you sit there and insist.